So it's my first day out with the rifle in New Hampshire, 2018. We got snow in about 100% of the state right now, so I had a hard choice this morning. Been working the big woods up north, but it's a long drive, and with snow and great snow down here in southern New Hampshire, um, I decided to find some big woods, um, and it's worth it because I have seen so many deer tracks this morning already. I'm on to finally a real big buck track. The nice part about coming down here is that the bucks have sometimes better food, maybe even a little bigger racks. So I think I made the right call. It's time to do some tracking. Yeah. I've seen a lot of tracks this morning, and fortunately this is a big enough buck track that he's easy to distinguish right now. Hopefully it stays that way. It's not easy tracking sometimes when you got a lot of deer activity or stuff like this, but this buck's a toe dragger, so that's the characteristics I'm looking for, and I just keep looking for that. I haven't lost him yet. Pick a big buck, and they just slice the woods right up. It's like meat falling off the bone when they walk through the woods. I love it. I just crossed a road where I had seen a few tracks earlier in the morning, and lo and behold, one of those tracks was a big buck. And when I stopped earlier this morning, I saw this track, and I can definitely tell this isn't my buck track, even though it is a buck track. It's just not my buck track. He's not dragging his toes. You see? He's hole punching, so I want to walk up over here and find my buck track. There, baby. Well, I jumped onto another buck track that didn't pan out to be any bigger, so I'm back to this big buck track. It's a hair old, but I got a feeling he's up on that mountain right there. Bedded down. There's tracks all over this ridge, but I just found my track, I'm pretty sure. He's dragging, he's wide, and he's got splayed hooves.
I was on a really steep incline here and several tracks going various directions. Apparently, I must have stepped over or lost track of my buck track for a period of time, but I didn't realize it in that moment.
So this buck made the swing move on me. He took me up here to wear me out a little bit, and he's headed back down the mountain now. We made a scrape, and so he's got some hocks staying in the snow. And he's dragging his toes a little bit. Definitely fresher now, but I still got some miles to put on today. I've been up and down this mountain today. It'll be the second time heading down. Track's just not big enough and fresh enough to stay on it and drop down over the other side. So it's about noontime. I'm gonna start to swing back, not to really try to get to the truck, but just get to some fresh country. All the tracks I've been on today are old. They're made at some point throughout the night, but the deer are just moving so fast I can't catch up to them right now. So I gotta change it up a little bit. The weather's still real good for tracking, so I gotta make use of what I got. So my plan as I drop off this mountain is to work my way out onto a little ledge. It's a ledge that extends like a shelf over right towards the next mountain. And so any deer or bucks that are coming up and over are probably going to use that spot. So if I don't cut a track by then, I should cut a track there. Okay, time for a little CSI. Gotta figure out which is the freshest track. Stay out of them. That certainly looks like a big buck track. There's antler marks in the snow. And a bed. He's a good buck. That buck track looks fresh. started out trekking this morning. Time to fucking get him.
This seemed like an odd place for a buck to bed down, in the middle of the open and on top of a small sapling, but it bought me some time that I really needed at this point in the day.
It's getting fresh. So this big buck just came up on top of the mountain and jumped the doe. She's running, he's walking, so he's distracted, which is good news for this guy right here.
After about 45 minutes of slow creeping, where I thought I was going to catch the buck in his bed, I came to the end of this knob. Between the size of this track, his stagger, the way he was dragging his hooves, my adrenaline was just starting to pump. I could feel the jitters as I knew I was getting close.
So it was crazy. I finally caught a real big buck track, and I got it freshened right up. He went into a bed and came out of the bed walking, and there was no leaves in his track. So he started working his way down into this green stuff. I knew he was going to bed. I'd seen him where he's feeding, big rack. And so I get down there, and there's 2 buck tracks going away one way, and this other freaking monster buck track going the other way. So I jumped off of his track on that monster buck track. I probably went like, I don't know, 150 yards, and then I thought I heard grunting behind me, and I was like, it kept going. It did it again and again and again, and I'm thinking, oh, it's just a tree squeaking. And all of a sudden I hear a crack, whip around, and there's a buck running away from me. He's only like 20 yards from me. So I popped him on the run, and I'm pretty sure I got him right on the front shoulder, but right out of the truck I had a big track, and he was dragging his toes. I tracked him up onto this mountain, but there were so many other deer tracks from yesterday and the night that I ended up getting off it, and most of the tracks all had leaves in them, the beech leaves blowing around. And so I started cutting along this ridge. I probably made it close to full click down here, and I cut a big buck track, which looked like the buck track from this morning. He was dragging his toes, heading right up the mountain. So I took him into his bed, and he came out fresh. I mean, smoking fresh. I knew I was going to see him at any point. Had the camera rolling, and I got down into where I thought it was going to be bedded, and there was more buck tracks. There was 2 buck tracks going off this way, and 1 big monster buck track coming off this way. So I jumped off of the buck track I was on, and I got onto that big buck track. I only went probably 150 yards, and I thought I heard grunting, and then I said, no, it's the wind was blowing. I'm like, oh, it's just a tree squeaking. And I heard it again and again, and all of a sudden I heard a stick break, and I whirled around, and there was this buck probably 20 yards from me. I saw he had a rack. I saw he had a big body. I didn't have any idea what he had on his head other than he had a rack. And as he went through an opening, I pulled the trigger, and it was a little bit of a chase game here. I bumped him a couple times, and I made a little swing on him because he kept looking at his backtrack, and that worked. I caught him broadside in an opening, and I got 3 more shots off, one of which must have got him. So I'm super happy. It's just a beautiful animal, a beautiful hunt. The way to do it here in the Northeast. In New Hampshire today. Let's see what he's got on his head. Oh. He's got what looks like a legal 4-point, but you know what? In the big woods like this, a buck like this is a trophy. It was just an amazing hunt. I couldn't ask for more. We'll have to see what he weighs in at, but I took a little gamble. It was a split-second decision there to take him, clean him up here a little bit. Just a split-second decision to shoot him as he came in behind me, but I couldn't be happier. He's a beautiful animal. I've got a lot of work to do. I'm probably 1.5 miles from the road right now.